How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to try get into the topic of the hardcore mode and give you some tips that might help you out in surviving and keeping your character alive for the long run. In this video I'm going to be trying to break down two of the most important skills you really want to master, and I'm going to show you how these two gadgets can save your life. Plus I'm also going to be talking about the importance of leveling up safely, how to manage combat, whether you're either fighting up close or picking off enemies from range, and some of the key strategies to keep your hardcore character alive for the long haul. First things first, when you're starting out your hardcore mode, it's easy to get caught up in worrying about your gear, what weapons you have, what gear pieces you would pick up. However, early on, that doesn't matter and it's not going to break your run. Sure, it helps, but what's more important is keeping your level on par with the enemies you're facing. The Division 2 scales enemies difficulty with your level, so if you fall behind in levels, you're going to have a much harder time surviving encounters. So what's the takeaway here? Focus on the experience and don't worry too much about getting the perfect loot drop. Instead, make sure you're doing activities that keep you leveled up or above your enemies. Now this is where the assault drone comes into play. Early on, it's your best bet for surviving those tougher encounters. Basically, it's your second gun on the field, it deals consistent damage, and more importantly, it distracts the enemy. When the assault drone is up, enemies will focus on it instead of you, giving you the space you need to stay in cover and pick your shots carefully. Keeping that distance early is key, especially when you're just starting out and aren't too sure how much damage you can take, basically. The drone not only boosts your offense, but it also buys you that critical time to reposition yourself if things go wrong. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed, don't hesitate to fall back with it. The drone will allow you to drop back and it gives you that sort of buffer. So don't stress too much, it's all about playing smart, staying mobile and using your tools wisely. Next up, let's talk about the Reviver Hive. Hardcore mode is unforgiving. Once you're down, you're out, that is it. But with the Reviver Hive, you've got a safety net that can make all the difference between life and death. It's a skill that I recommend to every hardcore player because no matter how careful you are, mistakes do happen. The Revive Hives gives you that second chance to get back on your feet and get into the fight, and trust me, in hardcore mode that second chance is priceless. If you're someone who prefers to fight up close, whether it's with a shotgun or SMG, the Reviver Hive becomes even more valuable. It gives you the confidence to push into enemies knowing that if something goes wrong, you have a way to bounce back. If you're running a close range build, combining the Hive with the assault drone is a powerful strategy. The drone helps the enemies occupied while you close the distance, and the Hive stands by just in case things get messy. This approach lets you be more aggressive while minimizing the risk of losing your hardcore character. When used properly, the Hive ensures that if you miscalculate and get overwhelmed, you're not out of the game. Now let's talk about leveling up safely. Earlier I mentioned how crucial it is to keep your level up on par with the enemies. One of the best ways to ensure you stay ahead in the hardcore mode is by jumping into the descent mode. Descent mode is a PvE environment that allows you to grind experience without the risk of losing your hardcore character. It's a safe place where you can level up, fine-tune your combat skills, and collect loot to prepare you for the tougher story missions. After a few runs in Descent, you'll start noticing a difference in your confidence, your level will be higher and your gear will be stronger, and you'll be more prepared to face the challenges that the main story throws at you. Taking this time to level up safely not only gives you a better chance of survival in the hardcore mode, but it also helps you avoid frustrating setbacks whilst tackling the tougher missions. Now, when it comes to the combat, there are two main ways to play in the hardcore mode, close range and long range. If you prefer to get up close and personal with your enemies, the Reviver Hive is a must, and as I said earlier, it gives you that cushion if things go sideways. Combine that with the assault drone to distract enemies while you move in for the kill, and you've got a lethal combo. The strategy lets you play aggressive and push forward and get up close without as much fear of dying, just to keep your drone active to take some of the pressure off. However, if close quarters isn't your thing, long range builds are just as viable. If you're going for a skill focused long range build, pay attention to the talents that boost your skill damage and skill haste. Ensure that your drone and turret are ready to go as often as possible, and the faster you can deploy your skills, the more damage you'll deal and the safer you'll be. Surviving hardcore mode is all about smart play, careful planning, and making the most out of your skills. Whether you're charging in with a close range build or picking off enemies from a distance, the Reviver Hive and Assault Drone will be your lifelines. Don't rush into fights unprepared and focus on leveling safely, making smart use of your skills. And always keep an eye on the positioning where you are, because I've had it ever so often where enemies will just spawn behind you, you have that shotgun rusher coming up out of nowhere from behind, or the sniper just getting a perfect line of sight on you and then one-tapping you. With the right approach, you'll not only dominate in the hardcore mode, okay? However, if the assault drone is not something you're wanting to pair your reviver hive with, you can definitely go with the cluster mine. The cluster mine is another useful skill that can basically get multiple enemies in one go. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I will be trying to put out more content and helpful guides for you in the future, especially when the new gear comes through. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop them below, and if you've got a new favorite setup for the hardcore mode, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching, and take care.